Imagine running a country while pregnant, banning military-style weapons, wrestling with a pandemic, and still having time to clap back at sexist interviewers on live TV. That's not a Marvel superhero. That's Jacinda Ardern. And her memoir, A Different Kind of Power, is basically a masterclass in proving that kindness isn't weakness. It's actually political dynamite. Today, we're diving into what her book says about power, leadership, and why being a decent human being might just be the best political strategy. Spoiler: it's way harder than it looks. Most politicians talk about politics like it's a full-contact sport. Nixon literally called it that. Thatcher was the Iron Lady, like some kind of human tank. And in Britain, leaders compete over who's most excited to press the nuclear button, as if that's a Tinder bio. Ardern looked at all that posturing and said, nah. She wasn't about being the loudest person in the room. Her brand, Ardernism, was about kindness, honesty, humanity, and empathy. Basically, she turned politics from the Hunger Games into group therapy. Here's the twist. Her early life gave zero hints she'd become Prime Minister. Born in 1980 in a modest New Zealand town, she grew up Mormon, with a cop dad, homemaker mom, and a cat named Norm. Her prized possession? A green Raleigh bike. Not exactly the classic superhero origin story. She was polite, sensitive, and occasionally called her sister a cow, which, in sibling language, is pretty mild. But she also had stomach aches from worrying about money. That compassion for others' struggles, it stayed with her. Her faith cracked as a teen after tragedies and a certain movie about a gay missionary. By high school, she was debating passionately for gay rights, kids' welfare, and social justice. That's when politics stopped being abstract and became personal. At 22, she landed a job with Prime Minister Helen Clark. By 28, she was the youngest MP in New Zealand. Critics called her a show pony because God forbid a young woman rise in politics without being accused of just smiling for the cameras, but she brushed off the insults and built trust. Fast forward to 2017. Labour Party's polling numbers were so bad they made Blockbuster's business plan look good. Their leader quit, and Jacinda got the job with 7 weeks to go before the election. Everyone assumed she'd lose gracefully. Instead, she ignited Jacinda mania. She connected with people, went viral shutting down a sexist question about maternity leave, and embodied what voters wanted: decency, calm, and no Trump-style chaos. She became New Zealand's Prime Minister at 37, pregnant, unmarried, and absolutely smashing the political mold. Okay, here's where a different kind of power hits hardest. Ardern didn't just talk about kindness. She weaponized it in the face of real crises. 2019, Christchurch mosque shootings. Instead of polarizing rhetoric, she said, "They are us." She wore a hijab in solidarity, banned assault weapons, and told Donald Trump on the phone the best thing he could do was show love to Muslim communities. Direct, clear, and kind, all at once. Then came COVID-19. While other countries flirted with herd immunity like it was a casual fling, New Zealand went all in on elimination. Borders closed, strict lockdowns started, and by mid-2020, Kiwis were back to concerts while the rest of us were panic buying toilet paper. Experts estimate that strategy saved 20,000 lives. Barack Obama even said New Zealand was better off because of her leadership. But being the face of the pandemic also had a price. By 2022, closed borders and inflation hit hard. People got cranky and Ardern took the blame. 92% of abusive posts about politicians were aimed at her. She became the internet's punching bag. Ardern admits she was exhausted. One night, she was playing with her daughter and realized she wasn't really there. Her brain was stuck on COVID graphs. She even had a health scare that briefly made her feel relief, thinking, maybe this is my way out. That's how drained she was. In January 2023, she resigned. Not with scandal, not with defeat, but with honesty. I no longer have enough in the tank to do it justice. That's leadership, knowing when to leave. So what's a different kind of power really saying? That politics doesn't have to be about who yells loudest or who's most eager to nuke Mars. It can be about care, about protecting communities, about remembering that strength and kindness aren't opposites. From worrying about her parents' mortgage as a kid to holding a whole country through terrorism and a pandemic, Ardern's story proves that compassion is power. Her memoir is dedicated to the criers, worriers, and huggers. Basically, the people who've been told they're too soft for leadership. Turns out, softness saves lives. So next time someone says politics is a blood sport, just tell them Jacinda Ardern won an election in 7 weeks by being nice. That's like winning the UFC with a group hug. And hey, speaking of kindness, if you made it this far, show me some love. Hit subscribe, drop a like, and join our little political therapy group here on the channel. Trust me, it's way less toxic than Twitter. That's the story of a different kind of power. A reminder that maybe the toughest leaders aren't the ones who act like tanks, but the ones who know when to put the armor down.